俺はエミリアが好きだ。
Okay, there is a lot of salt right now in the community for Darling in the FranXX because of what Ichigo did. Oh my god, like, I haven't seen the community act like this since the whole Amelia scene with, Subaru and Rim. Okay. So let's talk about that first. I think that's what everybody wants me probably to discuss first because of what happened, especially after last week's emotional roller coaster, which was Ani02. So, Ichigo. Everybody right now is labeling her as a thought. She is someone that is just completely disgusting, manipulating Hiro, trying to tell him what to do. That's what everybody is saying. And before I pick a side, and all that, I'm just going to kind of dive into both sides, both perspectives. I want to talk about Ichigo's perspective, then Zero Two's perspective, and then kind of what Hiro's perspective is. I want to kind of go into each individual perspective and kind of what's really going on here. But before I go into that, I just want to remind everybody what I said in my ReZero review a very long time ago when Subaru shut down Rim and said, "I love Amelia." I said, sometimes in life, you cannot control who you fall in love with. It just happens. Love is like that. Love is illogical. Happens out of nowhere. People fall in love with people all the time, and they just don't, understand why they did. And that's kind of what you could put on Ichigo right now, what she is feeling. But before I go any further, let's discuss Zero Two's perspective. Throughout this episode, we know what she's been through. We know that she has been separated from her darling Hiro for a very long time. And she always thought that, her darling was dead, just gone. And you gotta imagine how that made her feel. We saw the flashbacks in last week's episode, so we got a good understanding of, Zero Two's personality, and how much she really needs Hiro to be able to function in a way. And the same could be said for Hiro as well, because he needs Zero Two to be able to feel like he is living, or being able to do something, because all he wants to really do is pilot. But, thing is Zero Two, she was completely disconnected from Hiro in this episode. The entire squad, the Ichigo and everybody, did not want Zero Two to see Hiro. Now, it was mainly Ichigo that was forcing this, and then everybody started to agree with their squad leader. The only one that seemed to put up some form of resistance that thought it was kind of the wrong way to go about it was Goro. And I've always said Goro's a bro. He's a great character, and once again, he proved how good of a person he was, especially in this episode. But carrying on though, Ichigo used her power as the squad leader to basically say, you're not going around Hiro. I'm not letting you go around Hiro. And the reason why she did this was because of what happened to Hiro in the first place. See, Hiro, he was physically injured from Zero Two. You can see the markings on his neck, and it looks pretty freaking bad, okay? Don't even deny that. Don't even try to sugarcoat it. It does look pretty bad. If your neck looked like you just got strangled, you'd probably, you'd probably be a little bit upset, okay? So let's not try to say that was right on Zero Two's part. However, we do understand why Zero Two did that, because her entire upbringing. But even then, though, I just want to say that don't try to act like Zero Two is completely innocent after something like that. Anyways, the thing about all of this is that Ichigo used her power to separate them, and so Zero Two got very upset. She was extremely emotional after finally finding out that her darling was alive. And you gotta imagine, if you were Zero Two and you found this out, you'd be freaking out, okay? You'd be jittery, wanting to see the person. That makes complete sense. I can't fault how far Zero Two kind of went in this episode. I understand her perspective. I mean, she even resulted in using violence, attacking the entire squad, just to be able to see Hiro. And I don't agree with her using violence, but it makes sense, because they forced her and cornered her and forced her to do something like that. It's kind of like cornering an animal. When you force an animal into a corner, they're going to strike at you. They're going to bite you. And that's what they did to Zero Two. Ichigo and everybody cornered her to where she was isolated, backed into a corner, didn't have any other option, and attacked them. So, in a way, both were at fault by the way they acted. It was Ichigo's bad for forcing her own perspective and ideals on Zero Two, but it was also Zero Two's fault on going that far and not trying to get a good grasp on the situation and then the actions that she caused everybody, or what she did to Hiro in the first place. Now, once again, this could be tied back to her origins. For instance, Zero Two, because she doesn't have a really good grasp on everything, obviously she would act like that. But once again, both sides are in the wrong. Now, going one step further as well, you can also look at the case with Hiro and how he was trying to desperately go after Zero Two as Stockholm Syndrome. And it's kind of like this. As we've seen throughout, Darling in the Franxx, there's always been these, themes and messages, over 18 plus, with our characters showing that there's, little symbolic themes here with, how relationships are. And in this case, you could take the scene with Hiro being strangled by Zero Two as, Stockholm Syndrome. Someone in a relationship is constantly getting abused, but they continue to run back at the person. That's kind of how you can view that scene in that way. And so, I understand why Ichigo acted like she did. I mean, if you take one good look at Hiro's throat, you're gonna get upset. It's common sense, okay? I mean, let's give a good example here. Let's say you have a friend you care about, okay? Maybe you might love, okay? And your friend falls in love with someone else, but then you realize that this person is not really good for him. Maybe taking him down the wrong path, being crazy, going to clubs or whatever, okay? Let's just examples. And eventually you see that the person that you care about, your friend, they're getting, bruises all over their body. They're getting marks. Obviously, you're going to start getting upset, especially if you love that person or care about that person at all. You're going to get upset. And so, as soon as Ichigo saw Hiro's body, you're going to react like that. Common sense. I really think anyone would probably act like that, especially if you cared about them. Now, like I said, I don't think Ichigo is completely in the right. The way she went about some things was entirely wrong, but her reaction as a human being, I can't fault her for that. She just wanted to protect Hiro. She wanted to keep him safe. And it's obvious from the information we got from this episode that Zero Two was harming Hiro. Zero Two was turning him into a monster, slowly. And I don't think Hiro at the end of the day probably cares about that much, and it seems like he doesn't even care about the marks on his throat. That's another big thing, and that you can see that really concerned Ichigo in this episode, which is why she stepped in to try to force them apart. But here's the thing, though. If I would be really mad with Ichigo if she was lying to Hiro. See, she was very direct and honest in this. For instance, she didn't try to go around Hiro and say Zero Two just doesn't want to see you or Zero Two's been taken away. She just straight up said, I don't want you two seeing each other. I think it's not a good idea. And so, I really like how transparent Ichigo was towards Hiro with the entire situation. She wasn't trying to lie to him. She wasn't trying to say, oh, she's okay and all that, or she's gone or whatever. She's just like, I'm not letting you see him, or see her, and all that. So, I understand that, and I like that about Ichigo's character. That's the one big redeeming thing about her actions, is that. And she also was very straightforward to everybody in the squad, wasn't lying, and then she was straightforward to Zero Two as well. So, both sides in the wrong, but also they had the reasons for their actions. Now, at the end of the episode, this is where everybody is truly upset. It's the moment to when Ichigo kisses Hiro. Now, to kind of explain this scene in the theme I just explained earlier with the Stockholm Syndrome, is basically like this. Ichigo decided to prey upon Hiro's weakness right now. Hiro right now is in a weakened state. He's crying, he's emotional. In a way, you could kind of consider it like he got dumped in a way. It was a bad and messy breakup. And so Ichigo, she comes in and she basically tries to manipulate Hiro's feelings to get with him. And that's how everybody's viewing that entire situation. And in a way, you are correct with that. But at the same time, what Ichigo was doing is completely within character for her, and she wasn't trying to manipulate Hiro, she was just trying to make Hiro realize that Zero Two is not good for you at all. She is harming you. But that's where it comes at. Both sides they both have the reasons to how they're in the wrong, but also in the right. Do I think Ichigo is completely 100% in the wrong? No. Do I think she's 100% in the right? No. I think both sides equally are in the wrong. I don't necessarily think Ichigo is a thought. I don't think she is a really bad person, so to say. I think her actions are very logical for how illogical they look. So, yeah, that's my overall opinion on that entire situation. I just think that, right now, the only bad thing about this was that Ichigo, she just tried to prey upon Hiro's feelings, but I don't think that was necessarily her intentions. But that's just me. So anyways, despite all of this, let's talk about the visuals to everything else that happened in this episode. Number one, the room of 02. The scratch marks. Oh my god. Oh my god. Like, that just shows... That really just gives us some insight to 02's psyche and how badly she wanted to see her darling. Just the scratches on the bed, to the walls, to the doors. It's horrific. It's scary to see, honestly. And anyone that walks in that room and sees something like that, you would just be freaking out. Which I think that's why Goro was acting like he did, and why everybody, even though they were agreeing with Ichigo, they were acting very indifferent or very upset because of just the entire situation. And also, I would like to say that I like how Hiro, what he did in this episode, he snuck away trying to find 02 and ask her a very important question. Did you know? And what he means by that is, did you know that I was the person that was in the woods with you on that snowy day a long time ago? Did you know? Were you using me knowing who I was? That's kind of what Hiro was wanting to find out in the first place. And he didn't get that answer, obviously, because of how this was handled. And we don't really get that answer from 02. It's implied that 02 didn't know completely. But even then, though, it just like, he doesn't get a straight up answer what he wants. So that is left to be continued for another day. And Hiro even says that he doesn't necessarily care if he dies. He doesn't care, and, he knows that 02 doesn't really care. They just, the way they are, they just want to pilot and all that. And that's sad to view it, but it also, once again, just shows how Hiro, he's a very lifeless person. He needs something to live for, something to really fight for, and he clearly doesn't have that as an MC. He's a very empty husk. And I wonder if that's going to be addressed in the future for this series. Now, speaking of being addressed, Mitsuru and Hiro, they finally, in a way, come to terms with each other. As we know for a while now, Mitsuru's been having this inner conflict with Hiro. He is upset with Hiro because Hiro hasn't acknowledged him, hasn't, remembered the promise. And with Hiro coming out of his way and saying, like, I remember that promise, it allows Mitsuru to finally have a little bit of closure on that. I don't think it's entirely concluded, but we didn't get to see his face. We only saw his back, which shows that he probably had a lot of emotions on his face in that scene, and he probably now has a little bit of closure to realize that Hiro does remember he wasn't being evil or thoughtless. He does care. So I feel like that's going to change a lot of dynamic between Mitsuru and Hiro's character because of how that scene was done. But that's pretty much it when it comes to this episode. I think it was a really good episode. Just many right now are extremely upset with Ichigo. And I understand, but don't think it's entirely Ichigo's fault. It's both sides. It's all three of them, actually. But with that, I want to end this video here. I love you guys. You have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. Please be safe. If you enjoy my content, please subscribe. If you like this video, please leave a like. Chibi out.